Let me ask you something. Are you getting everything out of your rent-to-own business? If you're not an APRO member, then the answer is probably no. Look, advocacy is APRO's bread and butter. This is why they were created and what they do best. But here's the thing. APRO membership is about way more than advocacy. APRO connects you to the movers and the shakers of the industry, people who've been there, done that, and they can help you do it even better. APRO's monthly webinars give you expert insights and actionable takeaways. It's like having a masterclass for your business every single month. Got questions about complex regulations or sticky situations? No problem. APRO's legal hotline gives you direct access to experts who have got the answers. That's a peace of mind that you can't put a price on. And let's not forget the resources, news, updates, and tools that keep you ahead of the curve. Scholarships for your team? Check. Disaster relief when you need it most? Double check. APRO is your ultimate support system in the rent-to-own world. So stop settling for less. With APRO, members get more. More support, more connections, and more success. Head over to rtohq.org and join the APRO family today. Because in this business, more isn't just better. It's essential. See you at the top with APRO. Hello and welcome, everyone. Here at the RTO Show, we are pleased and proud to have APRO as our premier podcast sponsor. So if you're listening, then I know you care about rent-to-own. And no organization cares more about this industry than APRO. Since 1980, APRO has been championing America's RTO businesses by providing them with legislative representation, essential education, news and information, market research, and awesome meetings and events. Find out what APRO can do for you today by checking out their website at rtohq.org. That's rtohq.org. Now on to the show. Hello and welcome to the RTO Show. I'm your host, Pete Chow. Today we are talking rent-to-own with Josh Ciesicki. He is a Great Rooms franchise owner in the Florida area. How are you doing this morning, Josh?
I'm doing well, Pete. How are you?
Excellent. Now here's a question that I have for you. Where are your stores located at? And give me a little bit of background of Great Rooms.
I've got stores in Winter Haven, Lakeland, and Clearwater. So a couple in Central Florida. And then obviously I wanted to be at the beach, so, had to open one over there.
Oh, the real reason why we opened Clearwater now, I know.
Yes. My hopes was I was going to open a store and be able to sit at the beach. Has not worked out that way yet, but, maybe one day. But, and then a little bit, I guess, about Great Rooms. Great Rooms as a whole, I worked for Rent King for quite a few years and worked my way up through the ladder. Kind of topped out with them as a store manager and CPL at the time. Chris Paul and Larry, they were opening stores with their managers that had came in and had a proven track record from start to finish. And, I was lucky enough to catch Larry's eye, and Larry came to me and asked me if I wanted to open up a store. And, you got to jump on opportunity when you get it. So definitely took that opportunity and ran with it. So 10 years later, 3 stores later, and, keep going.
So the way that CPL rewards some of their great managers that when it kind of topped out, because either they have a DM or somebody in front of them and there's not enough spaces, they take you guys and give you a franchise opportunity. I mean, how does that conversation go? I mean, how does somebody go down and sit down and say, hey, you're doing a great job? I mean, you can actually be part owner. That's got to be a great conversation to have.
It is, and I'll be kind of honest with you. I was actually upset because I felt like I should have been the first guy. But I think I may have actually approached Larry at first and said, "Hey, man, look, you guys are opening these stores. I want that opportunity." And that was really how it started. And Larry and I talked a little bit more. I went and I actually sat down with Javi and Javi Rosado, who owned the store in Castleberry, but. Javi and I still remember we went out and sat down on Hillsborough Avenue at Subway 11 years ago. And I just kind of quizzed him on, hey, how is it? And how is it like compared to what we're doing now? And, he really helped me out with knowing where to go and how to do it and, taking those next steps. But the conversation with Larry, it was, hey, Larry, I want that opportunity. You're giving it to Frank. You're giving it to Javi. You're giving it to, Ernie. I want it. And, he said, let's do it. So that's pretty much how it happened.
So you came in hungry. Now, a question, because this is a franchise opportunity. Now, is this franchise closed to outside business, and it's just open to people within the business who are rising, and these rising stars like yourself, and they say, okay, we want to go into business with you, or is it somebody else can come in and kind of be a part of Great Rooms as well?
So I'm under the understanding that it's only for the up and coming managers that are part of Rent King and Great Rooms in itself. I've had those conversations with Larry before that, hey, if we get some superstar manager that's working for one of my stores that, there may be an opportunity for them to go, hey, let me invest in you and help you succeed more. So it is something that I do tell my store managers that, that opportunity is there for you. One day if you can come in here and really prove that this is what you want to do. And Pete, RTO is in your blood. I mean, you either want to do it or you don't. And, for those guys that really want to do it, like myself, you got to come in and really show what you're worth. So.
Well, that's a great bonus to the end of, when you get somewhere and you kind of think that you're capped out and they say, no, you're not capped out. You have the ability to literally own and run your four walls. That's an incentive. And like you said, rent to own's in your blood. If that's what you want to do, that's what you're going to go after. And so 3 locations later, I suppose that's exactly what you wanted. And here's a question, because you said 10 years. So let's go back a little bit. What's your history in rent to own, and how did you end up here? There's a little road down there that started. When did you start a rent to own, and what caused you to start? Everybody has that rent to own start story. Like, I know mine, I had no idea that I would stay in rent to own. I had no idea that I was even going to make it this far. I really didn't have interest in staying in over more than 3 or 4 months. And then here I am almost 20 years later. What's your start on rent to own story, and how long ago did that start?
Yeah. So back in 2005, I was hired by Chris Mueller, and I was hired as an account manager. I had a background at that time. I had worked for JP Morgan Chase as a 150-day to 180-day collection agents for credit card collections. And, they had put me through quite extensive training, trying to collect on people that were 150 to 180 days late. Like that's an extreme amount of delinquency. And, it's different when you're over the phone versus when you're more face to face like we are. So I got a lot of experience from that, and I brought that over to Rent King with me, and I succeeded. I was an account manager, and for a year and a half, I was closing the route lower than anybody in Rent King. My total percent, my overs, we were closing those routes on Thursdays.
Nice.
And and it was exciting. For me, I've always kind of been, rebellious in my life, and this job kind of gave you that opportunity to really be who you are. And I always tell everybody, and don't quote me on this later, but I came in and they said, look, this is your job. You got to close this route below 12%. The over, your overs have to be below 2%. And I ran with that, and but I'm very good with people. So when I get them at the door, I'm able to talk to people. I have great customer service skills, and that's really what our business is. Customer service. We've got to. I don't go to a customer's house as hey, I'm trying to get your stuff back. I go to the customer's house as, hey, what's going on? What can I do to help? And it worked out for me. It worked out really well. So.
Now, I think a lot of people have a Chris Mueller story, because it's not the first time or the second time that his name has come up in this situation. Where was that location at when Chris Mueller was bringing you on?
Newport Richey, right on 54, and I believe it's Madison. It was a very small store at the time. I'm not sure how long it had been open when I got there in 2005, maybe a couple years, but I still remember that we had a little bit of turnover going on. And, again, we talk about hunger and we talk about drive. For me, I went into that, and, I went from account manager to sales manager to assistant manager, probably within like a 3 to 4 month period. And I had a boss at the time, Randy. I love Randy Nichols. He taught me a lot. But I went to him one day and I said, hey, man, I said, Randy, I need a raise. And, that's always a fun conversation.
Yes. So. Yeah. I've had a couple of those myself.
So, I went to Randy and I said, hey, I need a raise. And unfortunately, he was like, Josh, there's really not a budget for that right now. I'll talk to Mueller, but I don't know if he's going to allow that to happen. So, like I said, Mueller hired me. I called him up. I said, hey, Chris, I said, I need to be a manager, man. I need more money. And that's really what it's about, man. Within a week, I was a manager, and but that's the drive that, like, you come in with those drives, and you can succeed in this business. I had a drive. That's why I'm where I'm at.
So you come in '05, you start kicking butt, taking names, you're moving up the ladder, you get to this management position. Now, in your opinion, because this is years and years later, this is a more well-weathered Josh, someone who's got a lot more maturity and a lot more experience behind him. What would you say the difference is in franchise ownership versus regular management of somebody else's company? And I don't say somebody else's, I don't mean that it's not important, but when you're running Rent King, it's not the same as running your own. So what's the difference between running your own franchises versus running a company in a normal company setting?
At the end of the day, money. You look at things differently, and not to say that I didn't worry about money when I worked for Rent King, because the type of manager I am, I'm very efficient. I run low inventory, and we still grow, low payroll, but it's different when it becomes yours. So even though I ran my Rent King stores like I owned them, I really didn't run a store like I owned it till I owned it, if that makes sense.
Of course.
But that's really the difference. Is now you look at and go, well, maybe I can work with that customer a little more than I would have. Or, maybe I don't need to make that purchase yet because, I can get that somewhere else cheaper, or whatever the situation may be. But to me, that's probably the biggest difference is, when you open your own store, it becomes your baby, and you want that baby to grow and thrive no matter what. And you make different calls. You think of things just differently.
Wait. What you're telling me is being a franchise owner just makes you a bargain shopper, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I went from Louis Vuitton to Goodwill. I mean, no.
You want to stretch that penny, right? You want to make sure it goes the farthest.
100%. And again, though, in this business, a cash flow business, so when you become an owner, smaller owner, the bigger corporation is a little bit different, and sometimes that comes back to kick you in the butt, but sometimes it works out. So those are things that when you're the manager faced with numbers and results, you don't always think of those things because you're focused on a percentage or a result. Whereas as an owner running your own store, you're not necessarily focused just on that percentage.
Well, the good thing about being in the situation you're in is that you've run a good company, and then going into great rooms, it gives you that diversity to look back on your experience and go, is this the right call for the company, or is this the right good call for me? And how do you benefit in both ways? So it looks like, you're good at this, right? You get one, you're hungry, you got two, now you got the beach. Do I see a fourth location in your future?
You never know. I unfortunately, I don't think it'll be at the beach anymore, but you never know. We've talked about it, and to be honest, right now I am kind of focusing on the 3 stores that I do have right now in making them become the biggest and best that they can. But we definitely have talked about it, so you never know. I might surprise somebody, and you never know.
So I just recently had the opportunity to open a new store. Now, what I have never done, because that was something new for me, is open a new store for myself. So, what is the key to opening a new location in your mind, in your experience? What is a good key indicator? Like, what do you go after when you're opening a brand new store location? And what do you think the keys are to success on that?
So for me, unfortunately, I've always been more of a pessimist. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But, when I went into the store, my first thought process is we have to get the cash flowing. And because at the end of the day, that's what we all want. We all need that cash flow. And, that's what I focused on mainly. When I opened my first store, I had every sofa on sale for $19 a week. Didn't matter what sofa and love seat it was. I put them all on sale because it was all about getting that revenue started. For me, that's probably your most important aspect is you need to get that revenue started so that way you can get those loans paid off if you have a loan, or, buy more inventory if you need it. You've got to have cash coming in. And we did really well. Great. My Lakeland Great Rooms was the fastest growing great rooms that we had. Winter Haven followed next to it. Again, all about, back then I was trying to find the more moderately priced items and just getting, again, getting them on sale and getting them on rent and getting the cash flow.
So you're looking for a fourth location when the time is right. Now, is there something that you use to pick out these locations? And of course, I know that we use some metrics as far as demographics, geographics, the area, but is there something that you also look for when you're going into open a brand new location? Is there something else? What are the other kind of like 2 or 3 items that you look for when you're opening up a space for a rent-to-own location?
Let's take a quick break.
Hey everyone, it's Pete Chow here from the RTO Show podcast, and I want to tell you about a company that's making a real difference in the rent-to-own space, Wow Brands. I've seen firsthand how they approach marketing. And let me tell you, it's not just about ads. Wow Brands builds complete digital ecosystems designed specifically for the rent-to-own industry. Their e-commerce and lead generation strategies are built to bring in qualified leads. And did I mention that they are actively working with the rent-to-own industry while also being members of APRO and TRIB? Listen, these folks are passionate problem solvers. They don't just slap something together. They design, build, and scale the kind of digital retail tools your business needs and your customers actually want. So if you're serious about growing, reach out to Wow Brands at wowbrands.com. I trust them, and I think you will too.
For me, again, it's always going to be location. You want to kind of be in an area or a plaza that has obviously a lot of traffic. I prefer to be closer to the road. I've noticed in some locations that are off the road a little bit, they don't tend to get the foot traffic that some of the other stores do. Really location, good, just a good plaza or area up towards the road. I would say that's probably, other than, demographics and things like that,
Are you looking for any particular anchor stores to be next to?
Not necessarily, because I've got stores in plazas that don't have a big anchor store, and I've got stores that do. My store in Lakeland, the only thing that was in the plaza was a bar and Dollar General, and there was no big grocery store, there was no massive Bells or anything like that, and we did really well. I think that when it comes to growing your store in the beginning, it is 100% that guerrilla marketing, getting out there. And, I tell the story to everyone, especially my managers and my salespeople that I hired, of the first 2 customers that I got in Lakeland. And I literally pulled, and I still remember their names. It was Alana Glover and Danielle Burton. And that was 10 years ago. I still remember, first 2 people. And, I was at Walmart because we hadn't opened the store yet. I was in the air freshener aisle because I want my store to smell good. So I'm like going down this aisle trying to find the best Febreze I can find. And there's these 2 ladies standing in the aisle. And I just walked up to them and started talking to them like, hey, I'm Josh. I'm just opening up this store. Y'all, if y'all ever need some furniture or electronics, anything, you come see me. I'm going to hook you up. And they showed up like 2 hours later. I still had the paper on the windows. So I don't even necessarily think it's location. Again, I think it's drive. It's what do you want to happen? And, I'm a firm believer in, if you want something, if you truly, truly, truly want, you'll get it. But if you have an ounce, a speck of doubt in your mind, you'll never reach it. You've got to believe that you're going to get it. And I believed it, man. I was going to get it. Nobody was going to tell me I couldn't do something.
Well, I've always known that if you're looking for a goal, right? If you set a goal in front of you, at the end of that goal setting process, this is what you want. This is what your goal is. This is what you're set to do. You have to visualize at the end of it exactly where you are and keep that vision. A successful open store with, 500 customers and 700 agreements or whatever the case is, you've always got to keep your mind focused and always believe you're there. You're just not there yet. And then just keep on pushing and pushing and pushing until you are. And I believe that is a huge amount of what we have to do every day, push ourselves forward to get to where we need to be. But we have to visualize it first, get that game plan, and never believe that this is just a possibility, but that it is an exact thing that's going to happen. It just hasn't happened yet. And you got to work hard to get there. And you got to keep that drive and focus for sure. So you have another location that was the latest location was in Clearwater, and you're running these stores, and then APRO comes, RTO World 2023 San Antonio, and you get gifted with the Emerging Professionals Award. What was that like? What was a sense of validation for earning that award?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be a liar if I said that awards don't matter, but they do, because at the end of the day, they make people feel good. And it was nice to know, especially from where I've come from to where I'm at, and then to get the award. It was a wonderful feeling that somebody actually noticed, and and it came from outside. It didn't come from my inner circle. It came from an outer circle of networked people that I got to meet, share my story with. And you and I have talked before, and I started going to the legislative conference up in D.C. And I really put myself in this business, and I go up there and I help them. We lobby and talk to the congressmen and the aides to just put seeds, for our business, and check to make sure there's no big things happening to us, and just share our story with them. But while we do that, I never realized that the guys that were with me that I was meeting were paying attention to the things I was saying, and so for some of them to pay attention, hear what I said, or where I was and where I've come from, and then recognize me for it, it's a wonderful feeling. Definitely a wonderful feeling.
Well, it gives you the sense that you know that you're on the right course. You know that people are paying attention, because nobody pays attention to the things that aren't getting done. They pay attention to the things that are getting done. It kind of sets you apart from everybody else. And that's got to be a great feeling. I mean, I really appreciate you being able to share that with us, because congratulations on it, by the way. I think it's an amazing thing, and I'm glad that you got it. I'm glad that you're able to share, that award when you come home and say, hey, there's a little bit of validation. Like I'm working hard, and somebody's recognizing that. Now, the legislative conference that comes up with APRO every single year, actually, I plan on being on the next one representing the RTO show, and in any facet that I can. I think it's fascinating to be able to go to Capitol Hill and just kind of let them know about what we do, who we are, what we represent, the amount of employees that we have, and the amount of revenue that we bring in when it comes to the economy and what we do for everybody as far as our communities, and what we do all around. I mean, we got vendors all around the nation. We order from all parts of the world. We give people jobs. We give people opportunity. Some of them go from management to owners and franchise owners. So when we're giving those things out to the communities and the states and the country that we're in, I just love to be able to sit down with people and kind of shed that positive light on rent to own, and let them know, hey, this is what you can expect from us. This is what we're going to give you. This is not, sometimes you kind of see something or hear something, and that's not really what it's all about. It's about us giving back to the communities and serving the communities that we're in. And I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to do that. I can't wait to actually be a part of the next one. Now, I'm guessing because of everything that you just said, you're actually going to be part of them ongoing. And now a word from our sponsor. Vox Pop Uli is the best graphics production agency in rent-to-own, offering turnkey service from design production through fulfillment. They offer printing and production, catalogs, and a ton of creative services. Andrew and Ciesicki have the knowledge and experience of working with rent-to-own for years, and they make it easy to get your brand recognized and utilized. You can contact them at 770-476-5112 or visit them online at vox-pop-uli.com. And now, back to the show.
100%. I love going. Again, not just for the, not just for the fact that we're going for our industry, but, you get to network with a lot of great people, and you really do start to learn who really cares about this industry, and, what they've put forth, and the things like you just explained, the things that we create and do, whether it be revenue, tax dollars, or jobs, but the one thing as well, and that I started sharing this last time, which is why I'll continue to keep going. It seemed like the congressmen were very interested in the fact that not only do we create jobs for our employees, do we help our community out in more ways than just giving them furniture. Obviously we sponsor some of their football teams, their baseball teams, and, we have community parties. We do a lot for our community, but what we also do, we have enabled people to start and create their own businesses as well. I've personally sold, lawnmowers to people who went out and started their own lawn service, and now they have a lawn service and they've created this business, and now they're able to support their family, and pressure washers, and they've got this pressure washing business. And I told this story to one of the senators up there. I unfortunately I don't remember which one we were talking. I think it was Bill Arrakis, but I had this customer in Clearwater that came in, and she ended up renting like 1 and 2 small chest freezers from us because she was opening this Italian ice business. And 3 months later, she comes back and buys another 3 freezers, and now she's got this huge Italian ice business going that we helped her create. I mean, RTO is a great industry. It just we've got to get that better name out there. So
what is that for a success story? That's awesome. I mean, looking forward to going to these legislative conferences, looking forward to going to these APRO shows and conventions, learning new things about the industry and what it brings and what we can do for our surrounding areas is always great. So with all this experience, almost 20 years, now that you have 3 stores running as a franchise owner, when are you going to start giving some classes on how to get it done? When are we going to see you in the next APRO conference, and we're going to hear the class by Josh?
Well, you know what? When I got my award in San Antonio, unfortunately, you had gotten up and went to the restroom, so you weren't there to hear my public speaking.
I did not.
Yeah, you weren't. I remember that. And unfortunately, I'm probably not the best public speaker, but you never know, man. They have asked me to join some of the committees and things that they have. You never know. I might surprise someone and pop up in one of those sessions. I've seen you do it, so it kind of made it a little more comfortable. Like, hey, man, Pete can do that. I can do that, So,
hey, listen, if Pete can do it, anybody can do it. I can tell you that right now.
Hey, that's how I look at things. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
If I can do it, anybody can do it. Well, here's the thing, too, Josh. It's not just about being able to speak great, because speaking eloquently, of course, is great, and it's great to have a great orator, and you can kind of follow the story. But it's also about somebody who has knowledge, experience, and the likelihood of giving you something, giving you that golden nugget that you can take somewhere else and use as part of your life. Make that part of your knowledge to change it to experience as a set item that when you go out there and you say, part of the idea, part of the foresight that I've got, that I've learned, Josh said this, I'm going to apply that to today's plan. I'm going to apply that to my weekly plan. I'm going to apply that to what I'm thinking. Maybe I'm not forward enough in saying, this is what I want. And so that I can say that to a management team and they can turn around and say, that's great. This is how you get there. Oh, wow. I probably would have never done that if I didn't just kind of outright say that. Thanks, Josh, for that, that little bit of information of just putting myself out there. And it doesn't have to be eloquent. It just has to be clear and understood. And I think you can do that very well because, you're running 3 stores. You can't run 3 stores without getting some messages across, regardless of whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, sales, credit, whether it's transitioning something into cash flow or just paying off, the loans that you have. You have to be able to communicate with people, and you don't get training from Chase. You don't be in this industry for 20 years without being able to communicate. So you got my vote for saying, go out there and make it happen, man. And what the best thing that can happen to you is that you find out that it's another feather in your cap that you didn't realize you were great at. And the worst thing that can happen is somebody says, man, you're terrible at, public speaking, but I really love the message, right? I really love the message, and I love what you said. I got to believe that there are people out there who are not really great at speaking in front of other people, but they have a message to give, and that message outshines that nervousness and that thought process, like, oh, nobody wants to hear this. No, you don't get to where you are and do the things that you do and not have something to say that somebody else is not going to want to listen to. And I think it's good that you're thinking that way, and I hope that you see more of it. If you had advice, let's say you go back a little bit, if you had advice right now to give the young Josh in 2005, and you say, man, I really think this is going to help you. I really think this is words of wisdom. Let's say for yourself instead of, just other people. What would that advice be that you're giving to young Josh for an RTO industry?
I've always been the guy that just, look, if you tell me I can't do it, I dare you tell me I can't do it, because I promise you I'll show you I can. And, I don't know if I would have changed anything I did. Maybe to step up a little sooner than I did. Like I said, I was an account manager for a year and a half, and that's not too bad, but maybe a little sooner. I think that would probably be the best, is don't wait until I think I waited a little bit longer than I should have. I wish I'd be where I'm at a little bit younger than I am now, if that makes sense. I guess that might be the advice that I would give my younger self.
Well, I'd always say don't be too hard on yourself. I can say through experience that there were times in my life that I thought I should have known something better. But, I've said this and I'll say it again. God bless the broken road that got me right to where I am. And I don't think I would know or be able to appreciate some of the things that I went through if I didn't go through them.
Yeah.
But Josh, I'm going to tell you this right now. You cannot publicly speak. I dare you to publicly speak and go out there and teach people what you know. We'll see how that works for you.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't mind doing a little class on, a little training session on what worked for me, in collections. But I don't know, man. I really at this kind of stage in my own mind, and in my mind, I feel like, hey, I've succeeded. I've literally started from nothing, and I've succeeded, and my true heart and what I believe that God wants me to do is help others succeed at this point. That's my true goal at this point is I want to see people succeed. I want to see people. I want to see them feed their families better and truly become who they can be. And congratulations to you, Pete. You've stepped up and taken on another role to better your life and better your family, and those are the things that I would love to. You talk about, hey, maybe there's something you can say at one of these things that somebody will take it and run with it. That's what I would want. I would want to push people to be able to succeed more and have that drive to understand that if you truly, truly want it, you can get it. That's what I would want to be able to give to people. So,
well, first, Josh, I'm going to say thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate it. I can say that when Danny and I first started this situation, a year ago, we kind of sat down and we talked a lot, and sometimes there's that thing where you talk a lot about it or you think a lot about it or you research a lot about it, but you don't do it. And
by the way, hey, what's up, Danny?
So I'm going through and I'm researching it and I'm studying, and Danny is a very, shoot, fire, aim. And,
I remember you guys talking about that. One of the shows. I remember
he's like a shoot, fire, aim guy. And so what happens is he was very, let's just do it. We're not going to do it until we do it. But the premise behind the old idea is that we had two different personalities and two different ways of looking at things, but we liked getting to the destination. So we would put a point on a map and he would take the turnpike and I would take, I-4, but we would still get to the same spot. And the reason that we decided to start that was because we did want people to know the things that we talked about. We did want people to learn, even if it was something remedial and something that we didn't think that anybody would learn from. Say, you know what? There's always somebody out there that might take something out of this one day and go, I took that advice from these guys. We wanted to speak about those things because we were interested in doing just like that. Just like you said, giving that hope to somebody who maybe just has never done it before.
Yeah. Well, again, for me, I came into this business not the most confident guy in the world. I don't mind putting it out there. A lot of people have heard my story, and maybe a lot more will get something out of it. But at the end of the day, I was 12 years old when I ran.
12.
Yeah, and
wow.
Yeah, 12 years old. I ran away. I didn't have a good life. I was an abused kid. I became a product of my environment at that point. Got in some trouble, and I just never thought that I was going to amount to much. And when Chris Mueller gave me the chance at Rent King, for me, it was God giving me a second chance. And I took that chance and I ran with it. And I'm telling you that if I can come from where I've came from and get where I'm at, then that's what I want to give to people. I want them to understand that, man, your circumstances didn't matter. Because like I said, when I came into this business, I didn't feel like I came in as the most confident guy and the biggest guy. But this business helped give that to me and created in me a better person. And I was able to run with that. And that's what I would hope to give to some of the newcomers that come on and the new people, like, hey, man, you don't have to be the best right this second, but give this business, a year of your time and see how it can help change you and make you better. And then because it does, what you'll give in return. I hope that makes sense.
Josh, it makes perfect sense. Listen, what a story to tell.
I share, I share that with everyone, even when I went to the legislative conference, I share with them, like, I'm sitting in a room with all these top guys, man. I'm sitting in a room with the Paul Mativiers and the Michael Bennett's and the Adam Starks and and some guy, Michael Helton, and some of the guys that I don't even know, you know what I mean? Like I don't even know some of them, but these are guys that went to college and got degrees and became something, and I sit back and I'm like, man, look at where I'm at. And I share that with everybody because, I'm the only guy sitting in that room without a college degree, you know, I dropped out of high school in ninth grade. Now, granted, I did go back, get my GED, but the whole point is, I dropped out of high school in ninth grade and never went to college. And here I am sitting in a suit and tie in a senator's office with a whole bunch of dudes that are, a whole bunch of guys that are, in suit and ties with me, or ladies, because the ladies do come. And, and I want to give it up to the women too. We have a lot of great women in our business. I don't ever want to forget that. I know I say guys a lot, and I don't ever want to downplay that. We have some phenomenal women in our business. But anyways, I'm sitting in this, in this senator's office, man, and I'm going, man, I was in trouble with the law back in the day, and look at me now, and so I share that with everybody. And the senators enjoy that. And, they like to see that our industry helps people become more. And that again, for all those new coming employees that are just taking a job to have a job, man, like this could be something that you can make it. That's what the newcomers need to know, man. You can make it.
Well, I think that's your story. I think you've hit the nail on the head. When you can say, I've had all these trials and tribulations, I didn't start off on the best foot. I had a lot of things going, in the opposite direction for me, and I was able to turn that around in a thought process of, I can be successful. I can do this well, and I will do this well. To be able to say, I had this type of background, and I did not allow that to dictate my future. 3 franchise stores later, a family later, awards later, a legislative conference later. I mean, that's the epitome of the American dream. You're living that, Josh. That's where you're at. To tell somebody about that, or to go and have these public speakings and share that with people, that could be your story. And I doubt that's the very end of the story, but I believe that could be the beginning of the story and how you translate to others. And it doesn't matter where you start. It matters where you finish. It doesn't matter where your head was then. It matters where your head is now. And it doesn't matter what kind of situation that you pulled yourself out of. It only matters the situation that you brought yourself into. And I think that Josh is a success story. I mean, that's an amazing story, and I'm really glad that you can tell it on the show. I mean, what is Josh's plan now that you've kind of pulled yourself into a situation where you can say, I have this life. I'm a lot more successful. I'm a lot more of a different person than I was back then, whether it be through experience, whether it be through life, whether it be through, just being more of a tenured person with all the things that you've gone through, a more mature person. What does the 5 to 10 year plan look like starting now?
Oh, I don't know, man. The future is open. I definitely am. I'm thinking about some things, and I don't want to put it out there just yet until I really make the decisions I want to make. But the future's open, man. I am truly amazed. I am truly blessed, 100% grateful for the life that I've had, good and bad. I'm very blessed. And, you always hear the old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I 100% believe it, man. And, who knows though, man, 5-10 years, that's a hard thing. I had a 10-year plan 10 years ago. It didn't work out. It didn't work out exactly how I wanted it to, but, so, 5-10 years, that's a hard question to answer, man. But, I definitely am very thankful to God, because without God, I would be nowhere. But, other than that, I'm so thankful for the people that I've met in this business, that I've been able to talk to. I've had the pleasure of knowing, and obviously I'll start with, colleagues, Larry Pivotal, the Chris Kale, the Paul Shaler, the, Paul Mativier, Michael Benning, I bring him up again, Adam Stark, like all these people that I've gotten to meet, that I've gotten to talk to and get ideas from. down to the customers. I've met some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful customers that are just, they're just trying to make it. And I enjoy that. I enjoy trying to help those customers try to make it. So you never know. Maybe 4 stores, maybe 8 stores in 10 years. Who knows? Maybe 20. I don't know. Maybe I'll be retiring, living in Fiji. I don't know. 5 to 10 years. I'll be just as surprised as you.
I wish you the best of luck. I know that there's a lot going on in rent-to-own right now as far as the economy is concerned and as far as the direction of where everybody's going to do. I mean, the inflation just kind of really hit us hard. I do believe that rent-to-own will get through this just like it has everything else for the last 20, 30 years. And I do believe that you have some good foresight coming to you. I think you have some good outlooks coming to you as far as opening another location and maybe multiple ones or getting something else done. One day you've got to call us back on the show and we got to find out what it is that you were kind of holding on to, that little golden nugget that we don't know. But last question of the day, we want a lot of people to know that we are based in rent to own, and we have to ask this question. Leroy Steen question of the day is, are you credit or are you sales?
So I let me say this before I answer your question. I remember, it may have been Mike Tissett that you were talking to. It may have been Mike, but one of them said they were going to come back and interview you. And if they don't do it soon, I might have to do that.
That was actually Paul. That was Paul Mativier who said that.
Oh, was it Paul? Okay. I couldn't remember. I knew it was one of them, but I couldn't remember who it was. But, anyways, man, I am 100% credit guy, but in my personal opinion, someone that is phenomenal at credit is also a great salesperson.
I'm going to tell you right now, I believe that the better you are at credit, the better you will be in sales. I can say that because it gives you a complete understanding of what you're looking for, what you need, what you can do, what you can't do, what makes a good sale, what doesn't. I believe the best salesmen have roots in the credit side of the business or the collection side of the business, however you want to put it. And I think that always transitions to knowledge and experience that you take with you when you go into those sales. And I don't want to say always, it's not always a negative thing, right? It's not always just red flags, but is this going to benefit the both of us? Am I putting you in a situation that you're not going to be able to complete this rental agreement of this? That's something that you don't want. You always want to get your customers to ownership. And it gives you a little bit more insight. Like, I don't want to overload the customer. I do want to give them the best opportunity possible. I do want to make sure that they have a completed rental order so that it gives us both the opportunity to get to the end of that road together. And so I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that credit people make the best salespeople. But some people are just sales-minded. They're just sales-minded. So Josh is a credit guy, at least.
Just real quick, you got to flip that too, because I look at it kind of the opposite as you. I look at it as someone who's really good with sales has phenomenal customer service normally, because you have to when you're selling. If you can bring that into collections, because for me, collections or credit, however you want to call it, is really a customer service part of the business. The better customer service that you have, what's the old saying, Pete? You get more flies with honey.
Oh yeah,
it's the same thing. So if a great salesperson brings in their great customer service into the credit side of business, they tend to be a little sweeter. So they're almost trying to sell. You're just selling the customer back on hey Miss Jones, I need you to renew your agreement. That's it. So it's just another sale.
Well, we do resell the agreement, right? That's the idea, is to resell the agreement every single time that you make that phone call and let them know the value of what it is they have in their home. But I will say that when you're always going to look at it, right? When you're a credit person, you look at it one way, and when you're a salesperson, you look at it the other way, right? And then you kind of bring that to the table. True. And I think either way, whether you're 51% and 49%, one way or the other, we need both in this business. Collections is nothing without sales, because you have nobody to collect on, and sales is nothing without collections, because if you don't bring in that revenues, like you said, cash flow is king, and it makes a difference. And very recently I've had to make some changes in my life, and when you mentioned Larry Pivotal and Paul Shaler, and I'm going to add Sharon Tomaszewski to that. Chris Kale was also part of giving me the start in Rent King as a DM. So I really appreciate all of them for everything they've ever done for me and what they've done to the business. But that is the Leroy Steen question of the day. I'm glad that you were able to kind of put your spin on it, Josh. What I will say is, everybody, if you guys have questions for Josh, please hit up the show. You can hit me up at pete@thertoshowpodcast.com. You're always welcome to go online and DM us directly from Facebook or Instagram. Just look up The RTO Show, and we are on Spotify or anywhere else that you guys get your podcast listening. Josh, it's been so great having you on the show. Is there any last tidbits of information that you want to give before we roll out? As always, the RTO Show is proud to be sponsored by the Association of Progressive Rental Organizations. APRO is consistently participating, educating, and watching candidly over the rent-owned industry, and has been doing so since 1980. Keep track of the current and future events, meetings, and legislative gatherings by going to the website at rtohq.org. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to the RTOHQ magazine and newsletter. Also, if you're not a member of APRO, find out how to become one online at rtohq.org.
Hey, I just have to say, because you mentioned Sharon, and so I just wanted to touch base on that too, because you can't forget Sharon and Laura and Amberly and Tara now. But, I met some, Chris, Paul, and Larry, they're some big guys. You know that. Like, these guys are tall, big. These are big guys. And but Sharon still scares me, man. I can't, when she calls me, it's just like, oh man, what did I do? See, I'm not like that with the guys, but when she calls me, I'm like, there's something wrong.
Well, size isn't as important as the stature of the person inside. And I will say that every time I take a picture next to CPL, I always look twice as small as I normally do in real life. And so I've had to kind of broaden my shoulders a little bit in some kind of the pictures, and I still look like a smaller guy. But those guys, they're great. We always appreciate everything they've ever done. Josh, we appreciate your time, and I really like the fact that you've just been able to open up and kind of let us know who the real Josh is, and kind of share your success story about where you came from, where you've been, where you're going, and some of the tidbits hopefully you share with us again in the future. So much appreciated, Josh. We do thank you, and I'll give you a call some other time, and we'll kind of catch up, man. I appreciate you being on the show.
Hey, Pete, thank you so much for having me, man. I wish you the best of luck. I wish you and your family many blessings and just the greatest things and much, much, much success in life, man. I wish you the best.
Thank you, sir. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much, buddy.
All right, brother.
And that was our conversation with Josh Ciesicki. He's an owner-operator of Great Rooms, franchised through Rent King, CPL Group. Great individual. So glad that he can be on. And just remember, keep your collections low so you can get your sales high. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.